This last segment of the news review part of the Power Breakfast show. And now, before we took the break, I had committed that we'll be looking at one story that is having prominence in the CS 2017 pull-out of the Standard today. Senator Hassan Omar says the gender rule bill failed to sail through in the Senate because of a quorum hitch and the opposition from some members. One of the fundamental issues raised by those opposed to it is that there are few senates in the world that nominate a third of their membership into this house. On her side, Winfred Bichuma is the chairperson, National Gender and Equality Commission. She said our politicians have decided that the gender agenda does not matter. That is why they have never implemented the gender rule. But I'm telling them that Parliament would be dissolved if we do not meet the gender rule in the August 8th general elections. Why can't this thing go through the Senate?
Charles, you know,
most of the time when people talk gender, people talk women.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate, because this issue of the more than two-thirds representation is not even a women issue. It is a national issue. It is a constitutional issue. It's a constitutional responsibility. I think we have tried so much. In the last attempt, this bill was sponsored by Senator Sujeni, and it did not sail through, of course, because of numbers. In fact, we have been in a situation where we are voting and we are full house, but when this comes up, they walk out.
What is the problem?
The goodwill, that is one.
From who?
Secondly, mostly men. Personally, I would say mostly men, because that is what has happened. In fact, we have had, you know, you're supposed to vote in Parliament. You either vote yes or no or abstain. You're not supposed to sit in your seat and not vote. It is not allowed. And we have seen in such scenarios, in fact, some of them, they would just go to the restroom. They will not even get out. They don't want to vote. They will not even want to be heard they voted no. First of all, because it's a shame, not only for women, but for every person of this country and for the constitution that we uphold. It is a shame, and it has not been able to sail through. I have said it before in this platform that we have seen a lot of cosmetic goodwill, even from the proponents of the same in the National Assembly. They will tell you, we will support, we are supporting, but when they are on the corridor, they tell you this PR. Even the president called even the majority leader to actually whip for this bill. They still said it is PR, and they did not vote for it. So I think it's an issue of goodwill. We have not seen it, and political commitment. But more importantly, I agree with Lichuma. In fact, there is a court case on the same, and someone can actually go to court to dissolve Parliament because it is unconstitutional the way it is. We can plan to change our constitution ever in the future, but the way it is unconstitutionally constituted. Someone can go to court to actually have it dissolved, and it is a crisis.
You see, what I don't understand is that yes, we passed this law. How are we going to implement it? Because we are talking about elective positions. You see, if you are talking about appointed positions, then it could make sense. But once you say that you must elect one-third of either gender,
that is not what it says.
It is elective. I mean, Parliament is all about elective positions.
Yeah, but that's not what it is.
Let me explain. No, it's okay. You'll make your point. What does it say?
There has been a lot of misconception about
this bill. So tell us, what is the
What this bill is about is Article 177 of the Constitution. Why are we not having a crisis with the county assemblies? Because we agreed that Article 177 was expressly stating that if you do not meet the threshold of then you top up. And that is exactly what we were hoping to do, that you import Article 177 into Article 94 of the Constitution of the Parliament, of Article 98 on the Constitution of National Assembly and the Senate, so that there is no crisis at all. If you elect men and women equally, then you don't need to nominate. If you elect less, then you top it up.
It's clearer now.
No, to me still is not clear. Because you see, I mean, going to Parliament, there's a process. And the process of going to Parliament is either through election or getting appointed. Right? So if we do not have, we have it. If you need to have maybe either that of the gender, because we said it's not either men or women in Parliament, it is upon us. We know we have elected this number of men, we have elected this number of women. So why the hullabaloo about it? If you must force it and say that we must have to that gender in parliament, then it has to be through election, and you cannot attain it. There's no way you can say you are going to elect, or we can have this constitution, constituency electing a woman and the other one electing a man. You will be negating the same spirit of the constitution.
Do you think as a legislator, do you think it's important that we have gender parity?
Sorry?
Do you think it's important that we have gender parity?
It depends. To me, I don't think it is.
On what? On what?
I don't think it is important.
Wow.
Because it's all about the representation.
I am in shock.
Because a man represents woman, a woman represents men.
I am in
well said. I'll come to you as a lawyer.
I totally agree with what you said, that the county assemblies, that is something that is implemented, which is very good, and also to show that we can be able to have governance at that particular level in a proper manner. What I totally agree that we need gender parity.
Yes.
And Article 98 of the Constitution is actually being abused at the houses at the national level because of the membership of the national level. What I expected probably from Martha and those that are proponents of the gender rule, which is actually supposed to be done, they should have actually gone to court from the first day when they came in and realized that it was not properly constituted and broken it and also started again. The fact that you sat on this all this time until now is when you want to say that there's an issue is a problem. I think somebody needs to go to court. I think I'll ask Martha, when you get out of this place, please go to court.
There's a court case.
Go to court. Let those cases be many, so that Kenyans realize that what we do in our constitution is something that is supposed to be implemented.
So what you're saying is similar to what she says. It's just a question of goodwill. Mheshimiwa, as a lawyer, where do we stand, and how best should we handle this gender issue?
You know, law can be used to stabilize the society. Law can also be used to re-engineer the thinking in society. Charles, this is a situation where we made law, in our supreme law, the Constitution, to change the thinking of the society. And it is not as simple as we may want it to appear. It is good we must have gender representation. And indeed, my perspective to life is not Wangari's, perspective to life, and that is why we are able to debate in the manner we are doing it. So we want the voices of all sections of the society heard. But remember, the Constitution also says Kenya is a multi-party democratic state, and the idea of democracy is participation of the people and choice. Actually, choice is the principal idea of democracy.
The choice of the people.
Yes, the majority will ultimately have their way.
Agree, yeah?
Yes, the majority will always have their way, as the minority are accorded their say.
And as we say that, yes, empirically, we have 51% of women in this country.
Correct. Now, that is why I was saying we are using law to retool the thinking in the society. Now, getting into elective positions, as suggested by that very phrase, is an election. This problem was taken to the Supreme Court. I don't know why the Supreme Court failed to be resolute to make a decision on it. See the situation where the Supreme Court took Parliament. The Supreme Court, instead of rendering an enforceable decision, says, I'm sending it to the people who have been elected to resolve it. I mean, how do you do it that way? I did not tell the people of Mwingi to elect Mutambo. The people of Homa Bay Town were not told by anybody to elect me. You think of it that way, and then you see there is a situation where we are in difficulty. Now, when it is in Parliament, Charles, and Senator Wangari may not tell you this, I want my daughter to be somebody in future, not on a free thing. When it is in Parliament, we then have a very difficult situation there. The difficulty is that in Parliament you don't just pass laws for the sake of it. You want to consider their socio-economic ramifications. My friend, the National Assembly is currently a whole secondary school, 349 people. There isn't even time for us to speak. I think Senate has a bit of time. There are times they even say one minute per member. Before you say, thank you, Mr. Speaker,
the microphone is off.
Now, you can imagine a situation where the society refuses to do what is right, that is bringing all gender to Parliament. Then we are saying we are going to appoint. County assemblies are a bit localized down there. Remember, we want now to move from 349 to 700 also. Do we even have, the difficulty of dealing with it?
Would you argue the same way if we had, out of the 349 members, we have 300 ladies and 49 gentlemen? Would you argue the same way?
I'm actually a believer that we should not talk gender for the sake of it. Charles, I've been in Parliament. I I can tell you, the mere fact that I'm not man does not mean that I cannot propagate the ideals of the other gender.
Just what he said.
And we are the ones, by the way, more so in the National Assembly today, the bills concerning gender empowerment are mainly being brought at the level of private members by men. But I'm saying, let us avoid this situation, Charles, of, you know, bringing a law that is difficult to enforce, then you blame an institution. I don't see any sane court in the situation I've explained, dissolving parliament. How many women do we have in the House of Congress in the United States? What of the Senate? How many women do we have in the UK and others? I think there is a way in which our constitution went so far. But I want to end by saying, let us reach a situation where my daughter Caroline will be the member of parliament for whichever constituency she'll seek leadership in, because she's a better leader.
Not because she's a lady. Thank you very much. Well said.
But I need to say something about that.
Okay.
Because, you know, very shortly, because I don't think we even understand the bill. You know, by
clearly,
by
what
hearing
I wanted to say.
But I can tell you, it is a mental block that they made sure they don't even want to understand, they don't want to listen to actually what the bill says, and that is why you'll hear them say we want to bring 700 people. It's not right, and it is not true. But my view on gender parity and equality and equity is this: if you're watching a match in Kasarani, and I'm 5 foot tall, you're 7 foot tall, there is one crate to step on. It is me who gets the crate and not you, and it is simply that way. That over the years, women have been left behind in terms of leadership positions. Why? Because of the socio-economic setup that you're talking about.
That will incite another...
That is why this constitution had the issue of... Otherwise, if it was not an issue of socio-economic importance, we would not have put it in the constitution. And it is not what we think the constitution should be. It is not what we think we should amend this constitution to be. It is what it is today. And we cannot pick the matters we want to implement, and others that we choose, those ones are not working.
Why don't
we don't pick it.
The problem we have in this country is the same constitution. And if we create this constitutional requirement, leads us to a lot of problems in this country. And that's why, if you remember my bill, actually, when I said we need to reduce the counties, it is because the burden we have is because of the constitutional requirement. And once we put everything in the constitution and we want to abide to it, we may not live we may not have a life in this country.
Senator Martha Wangari says this is just a question of mind block. Because you have refused to realize you can take from Paul to give Steve, you are now seeing...
Charles, why don't ladies elect themselves?
Yeah, why don't they elect?
You know, I know. Let me direct to me, Charles. Let me say something. Because
this you have to respond.
I have to respond, because let us also not forget that even this patriarchy, let me tell you, we are part of that patriarchy because we have grown in that system. The same men actually use the women to divide themselves and say they are the enemies of the world.
And women use the men to divide.
They have been disadvantaged before. They have grown up knowing leadership positions are for men. Let me tell you, they have grown up knowing the only women, the picture we have of Wangari Maathai is when her hair was being pulled out in Uhuru Park. I will tell you,
it was actually Karura Forest.
And it may not happen in Karura. It won't happen overnight. But I'll tell you, it is going to happen. Because if you look at Honorable Kaluma's party, the ones they brag, the code or NASA, I don't know. Out of the 16 elected women out of 290 constituencies, only one is actually from COD. And we can deal with this problem. Millie Odhiambo.
And she won. She was not given.
We can deal. She first was nominated, my friend. She first was nominated. Even all these others that are... Because I'm telling you, Charles.
Do you know the story?
I am running now for Gilgil constituency.
We elected Jessica Balo.
I know. Well, she moved. Did she not?
No, she
moved. Okay. We need to bring this to
my argument is, let these men, because political parties, even setups in this country, have been owned by men all over. It's only maybe one that is really owned by a woman. And that tells you how the system is.
So what we
are supposed to see in the political parties where we sit, bring us more women in parliament. Bring us more women where you sit. Let us bring more women in Jubilee, so that now we can talk of fewer numbers.
How do we do it?
Now one thing is
parties are already doing it. Parties are already doing it. Because I'll tell you, like now, it is a process. Those of us who are buying, even on Jubilee,
you've made your point.
In terms of economic empowerment, we are getting half to pay 50%.
You are belaboring the point that you have made.
Okay,
now, as a proponent of this very noble idea, you have the onerous task of unblocking the minds that you say are blocked.
Trust me, we have
Moving
tried.
on swiftly.
He won't
Moving
even
on
tell
swiftly,
what is in the bill.
we are beyond that now. We are looking at courts granting a reprieve to party hoppers after the Council of Governors went to court. Now, politicians are now at liberty to defect from one party to another until 45 days to the August polls. This is after Justice John Mativo yesterday suspended the implementation of the law that stops them from hopping from one party to another in the run-up to the elections. It is just by sheer coincidence that I have two gentlemen here who are elected by other parties but now subscribe to other parties. I start with the outside insider.
I think that suspension yesterday is a big relief to every
By the way, why is the Council of Governors interested in this?
Is a big relief to every politician. Let me tell you this.
You are liking that.
It's a relief, actually, I'll say this. Because a lot of people are already trying to jostle and see where they can survive. We know the shambles of nominations in every party. We already know, the men in black. We can mention everything to deal with nominations. And we know it's a sham. And that is basically the reason why people are afraid. Because nominations, most of the times, in many of the parties, is done actually at the whims of who actually controls the party, not at the whims of what Kenyans want. And that's the reason why it was very difficult for us to say that we cannot hop from one party to another one. And you can also go back to history and realize that some people were actually defeated at nomination stages, but they go back to the ballot and actually defeat those who defeated them. Because those who defeated them at nominations were not duly the choice of people. And that's the reason why when this comes, it gives a reprieve and actually a relief to people, those who actually wants to.
Tell me, why is the Council of Governors so interested that they have to go to court themselves?
Well, I think the Council of Governors is a body.
Does this have anything to do with revolution?
Parliament will have actually, and the biggest beneficiaries now are members of Parliament. I think they are smiling.
No. Let's look at this. Let's look at this this way. I'll come to you, Joe. Let's look at it this way. This is a body that you said needs to be given extra money so that they can entrench devolution.
Yes.
What, for example, has party hopping got to do with devolution?
It has a lot to do with devolution.
Tell me.
Because at the counties, we've got the county assembly members. We need credible members, not those that are actually preferred by the party. We need people who are preferred by the people, those who are elected by the people to come to our county assemblies, so that they can be able to control the way counties are managed. If we cannot go to court on party hopping, and then we allow parties to bring to the county assemblies members that are not credible enough to run a county assembly, then we are going to have our devolution in disarray. And that's the reason why the Council of Governors have a lot of interest in this.
Well put. Joe, how does this make you feel?
Actually, it makes me feel so good, so happy, because I remember when we were, I sit next to Kaluma in Parliament, and I always kept on saying, step up and jump. We must be allowed to do this, because it is our democratic right.
That's Tomewa Mukamba kind of thing.
Not only hoping, but step up and jump if need be. Why? Because our parties, they are managed by the party leaders. Simply that. It is the party leaders who decide what to do with the party. You as members, you have a very little say, and the only thing you do is to contribute the money. Done. If Kalonzo Musyoka today says it is so in Ukambani, it will be like that. Wow. So the people will not have a say, and then will be taking their democratic rights away.
So which party are you in now?
For now, I'm in Jubilee, because I know I will have nobody.
So if Uhuru Kenyatta says it's Joe Mutambu?
Where? No, Uhuru Kenyatta don't decide for me in Ukambani. I decide for Uhuru Kenyatta in Ukambani. That's the difference.
Isn't he a party leader?
So I'm saying, you know where we are coming from.
No, you said
where we are coming from.
You said
where we are coming from. Okay, where we are coming from. We are coming. I mean, we made this through experience, and that's why we were fighting this party of hopping. Actually, I was against this. I was the pioneer of saying no in the Parliament, and they branded me so many names. But now, what I was saying, my good friends came to realize that Mutambo at a point. Because if we leave the party leaders to decide for the people, then, like I said again, we'll be negating the same spirit of people choosing their own leaders.
You know,
party hopping, the decision by the court.
No less a place than the first article of the Constitution says we are a multi-party democracy. We never said so in Article 1, Sub-Article 2, for no reason. We are a democracy on the basis of, parties as tools or vessels for governance. So we are either in parties or outside parties. You know, you cannot call yourself a multi-party democracy and then you say parties that reach some level will be funded by the state. You know, we are getting a lot of money, actually 0.3% of the budget each year should be going to funding political parties. If it were implemented, you know how much it would be. That is a lot of money, billions of money. Of course, it has not been fully implemented. Why do you use taxpayers' money to find institutions which do not have any ideology, whose membership don't have any stance about where the country should go, whose membership do not have a vision to stay there? The first principle in a multi-party democracy is loyalty. And personally, I think we get it wrong when we are talking of party primaries. You know, Charles, the United States of America had their elections the other day. You saw the elections of the presidential candidate. Did you hear of these things you are obsessed with called primaries down here? Do they happen in mature, developed democracies? Parties decide their candidate. And parties, through their structures, believing and knowing you cannot form a strong government without strong parliaments at all levels, decide who is the best candidate to win that seat in whatever electoral unit.
Parties decide.
So this obsession that you put ordinary Kenyans to decide who the ODM candidate in Nairobi is, and then the next level.
Let me get this
It
clear.
is an obsession.
Parties decide.
Actually, parties should
So
appoint.
it's not about the common
Parties should appoint. But I'm saying we are there. Kenyans, and that is why in all constitutions of parties, the idea of direct nominations is allowed, so long as it is transparently communicated. I mean, what is wrong in ODM doing a survey and calling all of us interested in the certificate for Homa Bay Town and telling us, well, this is the result of the survey, support so and so, we focus on getting the state power. But let me say, Kenyans are obsessed with party nominations. Let us have free and fair nominations. It is wrong to say that the party leaders, you know, run the parties as they will. Who elect the party leaders? Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were elected party leader and deputy party leader by the membership. Who elected Raila Odinga, the party leader of ODM? In as much as people, you know, talk of men in black and leather, you remember, right?
Was there election for
No, there was no election.
There was no election.
There was no election in Wiper. There was no election in all these parties.
Then you create yours and be a party leader. Create yours and be a party leader. But
that's another leader.
What we are saying,
and by extension, now he goes and appoint his brother to nominate his brother.
Let me end by saying, Charles.
So they do what they want.
Okay. You heard it.
We mess up our democratic maturity when the face of Kaluma cannot be known. It is also dishonest when you go, you know, into leadership positions through a party and then barefaced, without shame, you just say now you are on the other side. See what you know, Honorable Mutambo is taking us through in Parliament. You know, he's telling you, sitting next to me, we have an ideology that has caused us to be on that left side of the speaker, and is busy propagating the ideologies of the other side with the facilities, resources and money paid by this other side. It is dishonesty. We must reach a point where we agree the best speech Moi gave is the last one he gave, where he said, be in KANU because you believe in KANU, in its ideologies, in its position.
I want to finish with Senator Wangari, but I want to ask you, because I had asked him this question before. How do you feel in your heart of hearts that Wananchi in Mwingi Central elected you because you stood on a Wiper ticket and you beat everybody else on another ticket, and now you are in Jubilee without going back to them to ask for a mandate?
What? No. Let me tell you this. I was elected by people of Mwingi Central not because I was in Wiper, because they believed in me as a person.
That is settled.
I want you to understand.
That is settled.
And then number two, I also want to tell you this. This party hopping things they are talking about. Actually, if there were people who moved from so many parties, it is the party leaders themselves. Because I can count for Kalonzo, he was in KANU, he was in LDP, he was in NAC, he was in Wiper, he was in ODM Kenya, and now he's moving to 6 parties. He moved from, it's a process. So if you move through all those processes, why are you feeling bad when one person is moving from one to another?
You know,
finish this.
Honorable Mutambo said a very interesting sentence. I don't know whether you heard it. That he's in Jubilee because nobody will compete for that ticket.
No.
I wanted to let that part say that. But
I did not say that.
For me,
no, I did not say that.
You said it actually.
No.
But anyway.
All right. If anybody, actually, I would want people to come to Jubilee.
Joe, please give the lady a
chance.
chance.
But it's okay. I think the tragedy, Charles, and what we are seeing now is the death of serious political parties. And for me, that really troubles me, because the amount of money that we want to pump and we pump to political parties, which are public institutions, is not commensurating with what we are doing right now here. Because if you decide that you can participate in a nomination process of a party, then you feel disgruntled, then you move to another one, then it means there is no clear process in the nominations. And I'll tell you, especially for women, where we really suffer is this thing called nomination. And I'll tell you, we are not sleeping. People are not sleeping because they know this is where the election is. And Honorable Tambu must be very sincere that even if people of Mungi voted for him, they also considered the party.
I have overshot my time by 1 minute.
This
is where I bring it to an end, and as always, I will give you 30 seconds to give me your last comments.
My last comment.
What's your plan for the weekend?
My plan for the weekend, actually, we've been attacked by bandits, and I'm going there now with the Minister. We are going to take care of that. But I would want to call for peaceful election, and I want people to believe in others. If I choose to be in Jubilee, let people respect that.
Thank you,
it's my democratic right.
To the people of Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and West Pokot, Turkana County, I think this region has actually seen a lot of mayhem, and I'm asking every leader in these particular counties to start talking to the people so that we can restore peace, more particularly in Elgeyo Marakwet, Pokot, Baringo, and the larger Kerio Valley.
Thank you. A second call for peace, Martha.
Of course, I echo my colleagues in terms of calling for peace in everywhere we go. But my plans for the weekend, I invite all the people of Gilgil constituency, where I'm running to be the member of parliament, to come to St. John in Karate, where we'll be holding the finals for Martha Wangari Foundation tournament that has been running for the last 4 months. Over 12 teams will be having the finals this Sunday afternoon, and I hope that we can meet there.
All the best. Mheshimiwa Kaluma.
Let me thank the people who registered to vote and encourage those who remained to use the short window. It's about a week or so to conclude. Let me thank the people of who support NASA across the country for coming out in the numbers they did, to register to vote. Tomorrow we are in Eldred, and it will be a very peaceful rally. We will of course hit hard, very hard as usual. It will not be abuses. If there is corruption, we will speak it bluntly. If there is tribalism, we will speak it bluntly. We welcome everybody. So
45 seconds.
Meeting. Yeah, thank you.
I conclude by saying, if you are a leader and you are aspiring, remember you are aspiring to lead live people, not dead people. It's very important that you pass a message of peace. It's very important that you maintain and enhance peace so that you will have people to lead tomorrow. Willis doesn't seem very happy this morning. I think I can see on his face he's saying politicians, politicians, politicians. Willis, wrap it up with some music. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Peter Kaluma, Mheshimiwa Martha Wangari, Mheshimiwa Titus Olote, and Mheshimiwa Jom Tabu. My name is Charles Odhiambo. Let's do this again on Monday.